Dae-Jin's hands were shaking as he stared at the massive alien warship on the view screen. The ship was at least 10 times bigger than their exploration vessel, the Horizon's Edge. Its dark metal hull looked like it was designed to scare anyone who saw it. Red lights pulsed along its sides like a warning. "They're hailing us again," Captain Rodriguez said from her chair. Her voice was tight with tension. Dae-Jin swallowed hard and pressed the communication button. "This is the human vessel Horizon's Edge. We're on a peaceful exploration mission. We mean no harm." The screen flickered and changed. What appeared made Dae-Jin's breath catch in his throat. The alien woman on the screen was tall, probably 7 feet if she was standing. Her skin had a slight blue tint, and her eyes were a brilliant golden color that seemed to glow. She wore armor that looked both elegant and deadly. Her white hair was pulled back in a complex braid. "I am Commander Nara of the Veltharian Empire," she said. Her voice was deep and commanding. "You are in restricted space. Explain your presence immediately." Dae-Jin tried to keep his voice steady. "We didn't know this was your territory. Our maps didn't show any claims here. We'll leave right away if that's what you want." Nara's eyes narrowed. "Your maps? You travel through space without proper knowledge? How typical of lesser species." The comment stung, but Dae-Jin bit back his angry response. The diplomatic training he'd received kicked in. "We're still learning about this region of space. Perhaps we could establish proper diplomatic relations between our peoples." "Diplomatic relations," Nara repeated, and something in her tone made it sound like an insult. "Send over your credentials. We will decide if you're worth our time." The screen went dark. Dae-Jin let out a breath he didn't know he'd been holding. "Well, that went great," muttered Lieutenant Kim from the weapons station. Captain Rodriguez stood up. "Prepare a delegation. Standard first contact protocol. Dae-Jin, you'll lead the team." "Me?" Dae-Jin's voice cracked slightly. "Captain, I'm just a communications officer. Shouldn't you go?" "They asked for credentials. That means they want to talk, not fight. You've got the best diplomatic training on this ship. Don't let humanity down." 3 hours later, Dae-Jin found himself in a shuttle heading toward the Veltharian warship. With him were Lieutenant Kim and Dr. Park, the ship's xenobiologist. All 3 of them were nervous. "Remember," Dr. Park said quietly, "we don't know anything about their culture. Be respectful. Don't make assumptions. And try not to get us killed," Kim added. The shuttle docked with a heavy clang. The airlock opened, and they stepped into a corridor that looked more like a palace than a warship. The walls were decorated with weapons and banners. Tall Veltharian warriors stood at attention, watching them with cold eyes. A warrior gestured for them to follow. They walked through the ship in silence. Dae-Jin noticed that every Veltharian they passed looked at them with the same expression. It wasn't quite disgust, but it was close, like they were looking at insects. They were brought to a large room with a round table. Nara sat at the head of it, with several other Veltharians around her. She gestured to seats across from them. "Sit," she commanded. They sat. Dae-Jin cleared his throat. "Thank you for agreeing to meet with us, Commander Nara. We hope this can be the beginning of a peaceful relationship between humans and Veltharians." One of the Veltharians, a scarred male with darker blue skin, laughed. "Peaceful relationship? With humans? I've heard your species can barely organize your own planet." Dae-Jin felt his face getting hot, but he kept his voice calm. "We've had our problems, yes, but we've overcome them. We've united our world and reached for the stars." "How inspiring," Nara said, but her tone was flat. "Tell me, human, why should the Veltharian Empire recognize your species? What can you possibly offer us?" Before Dae-Jin could answer, his communicator buzzed. He glanced down at it. A message from the Horizon's Edge. Just a routine check-in. Without thinking, he muttered under his breath, "Great timing." He thought he'd pressed mute on his communicator. He hadn't. "This is ridiculous," he continued muttering, still thinking no one could hear him. "They bring us here just to insult us. Look at them, sitting there like they're gods or something. Yeah, you've got bigger ships. Congratulations. We're new to space travel. Give us a century and we'll probably surprise you. But no, got to make sure the little humans know their place." He looked up and froze. Every Veltharian in the room was staring at him. Nara's golden eyes were wide with surprise. "Oh no," Dae-Jin whispered. "You heard all that." Lieutenant Kim had her face in her hands. Dr. Park looked like he might faint. The scarred Veltharian stood up, his hand moving toward his weapon. "You dare—" "Enough!" Nara said, holding up her hand. The warrior stopped immediately. She was staring at Dae-Jin with an expression he couldn't read. "You believe we're being unfair?" Dae-Jin knew he was probably about to die, but something made him keep talking. "Yes, you are. You're judging us based on your standards, not considering where we came from or what we've achieved. 100 years ago, we couldn't even leave our own planet. Now we're exploring the galaxy. Maybe we're not as advanced as you, but we're trying. Doesn't that count for something?" The room was silent. Nara stood up slowly. She walked around the table and stopped right in front of Dae-Jin. He had to crane his neck to look up at her. She was even taller than he'd thought. "Most species that come before us speak in circles," she said quietly. "They say what they think we want to hear. They lie with smiles on their faces. You just spoke your true thoughts." "I didn't mean to," Dae-Jin admitted. "I know. That's what makes it interesting." She turned to the other Veltharians. "I will handle these negotiations personally. The rest of you are dismissed." The scarred warrior looked shocked. "Commander, you can't seriously—" "I gave you an order," Nara said, her voice like ice. The other Veltharians filed out, though they didn't look happy about it. When they were gone, Nara sat down across from Dae-Jin again. This time, she was actually looking at him like he was a person, not an insect. "Your name is Dae-Jin?" she asked. "Yes, Commander." "You're the communications officer of your vessel?" "Yes." She leaned back in her chair. "Then you will be my liaison with your people. No one else. Just you." Lieutenant Kim spoke up for the first time. "Commander, with all respect, there are more qualified—" "I don't want qualified," Nara interrupted. "I want honest. Your Dae-Jin here doesn't seem capable of being anything else." She looked at him again, and this time there might have been the smallest hint of a smile on her face. "Let's see if humanity is as interesting as you've made it seem." Dae-Jin didn't know if he should feel relieved or terrified. Probably both. 2 days later, Dae-Jin found himself standing in the docking bay of his ship, waiting for Nara's shuttle to arrive. He'd barely slept since their first meeting. Every time he closed his eyes, he replayed the moment when he'd accidentally insulted the most dangerous alien he'd ever met. "Stop fidgeting," Captain Rodriguez said beside him. "You look nervous." "I am nervous. She probably wants to throw me in a Veltharian prison or something." "If she wanted that, you'd already be there. Whatever you did, she seems to respect you for it." The shuttle arrived and docked. Nara stepped out, still wearing her armor. Behind her came another figure that made Dae-Jin do a double take. It was a human man, tall and muscular, also wearing Veltharian armor. He had to be in his 40s, with graying hair and hard eyes. "Captain Rodriguez, Dae-Jin," Nara said formally. "This is Taiwan. He serves as my tactical advisor." The human man nodded. "Captain." "Dae-Jin." His voice was cold, professional. Dae-Jin couldn't help himself. "You're human. How are you serving with the Veltharians?" "Long story," Taiwan said. "Maybe I'll tell you someday. Right now, we have more important things to discuss." They moved to a conference room. Nara sat at the head of the table again, with Taiwan beside her. Dae-Jin and Captain Rodriguez sat across from them. Let me be direct, Nara said. I've convinced my superiors to consider humanity worthy of passage through Veltharian space. But there's a condition. Of course there is, Rodriguez muttered. You must undergo the trial of words, Nara continued. It's a Veltharian tradition. You'll stand before our council and answer their challenges. They'll question your worth, your honor, your strength. You must defend humanity without weapons, only your voice. Dai-Jin felt his stomach drop. And if I fail? Then humanity will be denied passage through our space. Your ships will have to travel around our territory. That will add years to your exploration missions. Captain Rodriguez leaned forward. Why put us through this? Why not just let us pass? Taiwan answered this time. Because the Veltharian Empire doesn't give things freely. Respect must be earned. The Council sees humans as weak. They need to be proven wrong. And you think I can do that? Dai-Jin asked. Nara looked at him with those golden eyes. You spoke honestly to me when you thought no one was listening. That takes a kind of courage. The question is, can you do it when everyone is listening? She stood up. You have 3 days to prepare. I suggest you learn about our culture, our history. Taiwan will help you. After Nara left, Taiwan stayed behind. He studied Dai-Jin for a long moment. You have no idea what you've gotten yourself into, do you? Not really, no. The trial of words is brutal. The Council will attack everything about you, your species, your worth. They'll try to make you angry, make you lose control. If you do, you fail. That's encouraging, Dai-Jin said weakly. I'm not trying to encourage you. I'm trying to prepare you. Taiwan pulled up a holographic display. This is what you need to know about Veltharian culture. For the next 3 days, Dai-Jin barely left the conference room. Taiwan drilled him on Veltharian history, their wars, their heroes, their values. He learned that Veltharians valued strength above all, but not just physical strength. Mental strength, the ability to stand firm under pressure. They'll respect you if you show courage, Taiwan explained. But courage doesn't mean being fearless. It means being afraid and standing anyway. On the second day, Nara visited again. This time, she came alone. She found Dai-Jin in the observation deck, staring out at the stars. He'd needed a break from studying. Can't sleep? She asked, coming to stand beside him. How did you know? You have the look of someone carrying too much weight. They stood in silence for a moment. Finally, Dai-Jin asked the question that had been bothering him. Why are you helping me? You could just let me fail. Nara was quiet for so long he thought she wouldn't answer. Then she said, Because I'm tired of the same old answers. Every species that comes before us either cowers or blusters. You did neither. You were just real. I didn't mean to be. I thought my mic was off. I know. That's what made it valuable. She turned to look at him. The Veltharian Empire is old, Dai-Jin. Old and set in its ways. Maybe it's time for something different. Maybe humanity can be that difference. That's a lot of pressure to put on one communications officer. She almost smiled. You handled me. You can handle the council. You're easier to talk to than I expected, he admitted. Don't let the others hear you say that. They think I'm terrifying. You are terrifying. But you're also fair, I think. This time she did smile just a little. Get some rest, Dai-Jin. You'll need it. The day of the trial arrived. Dai-Jin stood in the shuttle beside Taiwan, heading toward the Veltharian flagship called Crimson Talon. His hands were sweating. Remember, Taiwan said, don't show weakness, but don't pretend to be something you're not. They'll see through false bravado. So be strong, but be myself. Got it. Simple. Nothing about this is simple. The council chamber was enormous. A dozen Veltharian leaders sat in raised seats, looking down at a small platform in the center. That's where Daijin would stand. Nara sat among them, but her face was expressionless. A tall Veltharian with silver hair stood up. "Bring forth the human." Daijin walked to the platform. The room was silent except for his footsteps. He could feel every eye on him. "State your name and purpose," the silver-haired Veltharian commanded. "My name is Daijin. I'm here to speak for humanity, to earn our right to travel through your space." "Earn?" Another council member laughed. "What makes you think you can earn anything from us?" And so it began. For 2 hours, they threw questions and insults at him. They called humans weak, primitive, violent, disorganized. They questioned every human achievement. They brought up Earth's wars, its polluted history, its divided nations. Daijin answered each challenge. When they mentioned wars, he talked about peace. When they called humans weak, he described human endurance. When they mocked human technology, he explained human innovation. But the hardest moment came near the end. The scarred warrior from the first meeting stood up. "You speak well, human, but words are easy. Actions matter. What has humanity actually accomplished that we should care about?" Daijin took a breath. "You're right. We haven't built an empire. We haven't conquered other worlds. We've only been in space for a short time. But we survived. Every disaster, every war, every mistake that should have destroyed us, we survived. And we learned. We're still learning. Maybe that's not impressive to you, but we're not done yet. Give us time, and we'll show you what humans can really do." The room was silent. Then Nara stood up. Daijin's heart sank. This was it, the final challenge. "I have one last question," she said, her voice formal. "Why should the Veltharian Empire risk associating with a species as young and untested as humanity?" Daijin met her eyes. He remembered what she'd said about being real, about being different. "Because you're bored," he said simply. "You've conquered everything you wanted to conquer. You've seen the same politics, the same fear, the same brown-nosing from every species you meet. We're different. We're messy and unpredictable, and yes, sometimes stupid. But we're interesting, and maybe, just maybe, we'll surprise you." The silence stretched on. Then the silver-haired leader began to laugh. It was a deep, genuine laugh. "Bold answer, human. Very bold." He looked at the other council members. "I vote we grant them passage." One by one, the others agreed. Even the scarred warrior nodded grudgingly. Nara was the last to speak. "I agree. Humanity has earned its passage." As Daijin left the chamber, his legs felt like water. Taewon clapped him on the shoulder. "You did well. Better than I expected. I'm just glad it's over." "Over?" Taewon smiled grimly. "This is just the beginning." After the trial, Daijin was exhausted. The Veltharian Council had dismissed him with what seemed like grudging respect. But he felt drained. Every word had been a battle. Every answer had required him to think 3 steps ahead. Taewon guided him through the Crimson Talon's corridors. "There's a guest quarters prepared for you. You should rest." "I just want to go back to my ship," Daijin said. "Not yet. Protocol requires you to stay here tonight. The Council wants to observe you more. See if you maintain your composure." "Great. So I'm still being tested." "You're always being tested here. Get used to it." The guest quarters were surprisingly comfortable. The bed was too large for a human, but Daijin didn't care. He collapsed onto it, fully clothed. But sleep wouldn't come. His mind kept replaying the trial, thinking of better answers he could have given. After an hour of staring at the ceiling, he gave up. He decided to explore the ship a little. Maybe walking would help him relax. The corridors were quieter now. Most of the crew seemed to be off duty. He found his way to an observation deck, similar to the one on his own ship. The window showed the stars and the distant shape of the horizon's edge. He stood there, hands pressed against the cool glass, when he heard footsteps behind him. Can't sleep?" It was Nara's voice. He turned. She was alone, no longer wearing her armor. Instead, she wore simpler clothes that looked almost casual. She seemed taller somehow without the armor, or maybe just more real. No, too much in my head. She came to stand beside him at the window. "You did well today. Better than most species do on their first trial." "Thanks, though I'm pretty sure I almost failed a dozen times." "You stumbled, yes. But you didn't fall. That's what mattered." They stood in silence for a moment. It wasn't uncomfortable, which surprised him. Finally, Nara spoke again. "Don't be a coward, Dae-jin. Tell me your thoughts, human." He looked at her in surprise. "What do you mean?" "You're thinking something. I can see it in your face. Whatever it is, say it. I've had enough of careful words for one day." Dae-jin laughed bitterly. "You want honesty? Fine. I'm thinking that this whole thing is exhausting. You Veltharians and your tests and your pride, everything has to be a challenge. Everything has to prove something. Can't people just be?" Instead of getting angry, Nara looked thoughtful. "Go on. I mean, look at you all. You're so focused on being strong, on being worthy, on maintaining your reputation. Don't you ever get tired? Don't you ever want to just drop the act and be yourself?" The act? There was something sharp in her voice now. Yeah, the act. The whole warrior commander thing. The cold voice, the perfect posture, always in control. It must be exhausting. Nara was quiet for a long moment. When she spoke, her voice was softer. "You think it's an act? Isn't it? At least partly?" She turned away from the window and walked to a seat built into the wall. She sat down, and for the first time, Dae-jin saw her shoulders relax slightly. "Perhaps you're more perceptive than I gave you credit for." He came and sat near her, though not too close. "So I'm right?" "Partially. The warrior part is real. I am a commander. I have fought in many battles. That's not an act. But you're right that it's tiring. To always be strong. To always be perfect. To never show doubt. Why do it then? Because that's what's expected. In Veltharian culture, leaders must be unshakable. Any sign of weakness, and others will challenge you. It's how we maintain order." "Sounds lonely," Dae-jin said. Nara looked at him with surprise. "Lonely?" "Yeah. Never being able to drop your guard. Never being able to be vulnerable with anyone. That's lonely." She was quiet again. Then she said, "You're doing it again. Saying things others wouldn't dare say." "Sorry. You told me to be honest. Don't apologize. It's refreshing." She leaned back against the wall. "What else are you thinking? Don't hold back now." Dae-jin felt his face getting warm. "I probably shouldn't say. Now I'm definitely curious. Tell me." He took a breath. This was probably going to get him in trouble. But she'd asked for honesty. "Fine. I'm thinking that you're the hottest alien woman I've ever seen." The silence that followed was absolute. Nara stared at him with wide eyes. Dae-jin wanted to disappear into the floor. "I mean," he stammered, "not that I've seen that many alien women. Actually, you're the first one I've met. But even if I'd met hundreds, you'd still be... I'm going to stop talking now." Nara continued to stare at him. Then, to his complete shock, she laughed. It wasn't a small laugh either. It was a genuine, surprised laugh that seemed to come from deep in her chest. "You," she said between laughs, "are the strangest human I've ever met." Is that good or bad? I'm not sure yet. She got control of her laughter, but she was still smiling. "No one has ever said anything like that to me before." "Really? You're a commander. You must have admirers." "Admirers of my rank, perhaps, my fighting skills, my tactical abilities, but they see Commander Nara. You just called me hot." I probably shouldn't have done that. Probably not. But I appreciate the honesty. She looked at him with something like curiosity. Is that really what you think when you look at me? Dae-jin figured he'd already embarrassed himself enough. Might as well commit. Yes. I mean, you're intimidating too, and scary. But also, yeah, hot. Nara shook her head, but she was still smiling. You humans are strange. You see someone who could kill you with one hand and you think about attraction? Is that weird? In Veltharian culture, attraction is about strength meeting strength, equals recognizing each other. I'm far stronger than you. Physically, sure. But strength isn't just about muscles, right? You said that yourself during the trial. She considered this. You're using my own words against me. Is it working? Perhaps. She stood up and walked back to the window. Can I be honest with you now? Please do. I'm tired, Dae-jin. Tired of conquest. Tired of war. Tired of the endless competition. The Veltharian Empire has been expanding for centuries. We've defeated every enemy, claimed every territory we wanted. And now what? We just keep going because that's what we do? You're questioning your own culture? I'm questioning my place in it. I've served faithfully for 20 years, followed every order, won every battle I was given. And for what? So I can sit in council meetings and judge other species? So I can fight more wars? What would you rather do? She looked at him. I don't know. That's the problem. This is all I've ever known. Well, Dae-jin said carefully, humans have a saying, it's never too late to change. Easy for you to say, you're young, your whole species is young, everything is still possible for you. And it's not for you? You can't be that old. I'm 43 by human years, past my prime by Veltharian standards. You seem pretty prime to me. She smiled again. There you go again with the honesty. You asked for it. Nara came back and sat down beside him. Closer this time. Yes, I did. She looked at him seriously. What you said in the trial about humanity being interesting. Did you mean that? About you being bored? Yeah, I meant it. It seemed obvious. It was. To you. Most people are afraid to point out such things. I'm learning that fear doesn't really help with you Veltharians. You respect honesty more than politeness. Some of us do. She was quiet for a moment. You realize this conversation would be considered inappropriate by my people? A commander speaking so casually with a member of another species? Want me to leave? No. She said it quickly, then seemed surprised by her own response. No. This is the most real conversation I've had in years. They sat together in comfortable silence, watching the stars. Finally, Dae-jin asked, What happens now? After I go back to my ship? The Council will document this meeting. Humanity will be granted passage rights. Your people and mine will begin formal relations. And us? Will I see you again? Nara looked at him with an expression he couldn't quite read. That depends. Do you want to? Yes, he said simply. Then you probably will. I have a feeling the universe isn't done throwing us together. She stood up. You should rest now. Tomorrow will bring more challenges. As she walked toward the door, Dae-jin called out, Nara? She turned. Thanks for being honest with me, too. She nodded. Thank you for giving me a reason to be. After she left, Dae-jin sat alone in the observation deck for a long time, thinking about golden eyes and unexpected conversations. 3 days after the trial, Dae-jin was back on the horizon's edge. Things were different now. Humanity had passage rights through Veltharian space. The mission could continue. Everyone was celebrating except him. He couldn't stop thinking about Nara, about their conversation in the observation deck, about the way she'd laughed when he called her hot, about the loneliness in her voice when she talked about her culture. You're distracted, Captain Rodriguez said, finding him in the mess hall. Just thinking. About a certain tall alien commander? Dae-Jin's face went red. How did you... The whole crew knows, Dae-Jin. You're not subtle, and frankly, the way she looks at you isn't subtle either. She doesn't look at me any special way. Rodriguez smiled. If you say so. Anyway, we're preparing to move through Veltharian space tomorrow. You should get some rest. But rest didn't come. At 3 in the morning, ship-wide alarms blared. Dae-Jin rushed to the bridge, still in his sleep clothes. What's happening? He asked. Lieutenant Kim looked up from her station. Distress signal. It's coming from Haven's Rest, a colony on the border. Border of what? Rodriguez asked. Veltharian and Kreth territories. Kim pulled up a display. Multiple species live there. Humans, Veltharians, and 3 other species. Mixed colony. They're under attack. By who? The Kreth swarm. The bridge went silent. Everyone had heard of the Kreth, a hive-minded species that consumed everything in their path. Planets, ships, people. They were one of the few species that even the Veltharians feared. How long until we can reach them? Rodriguez asked. 6 hours at maximum speed. But Captain, our ship isn't equipped for combat against the Kreth. I know. Send the distress signal to the Veltharian flagship. They're closer. They waited. 20 minutes later, a response came. It was from the Veltharian Council, not Nara. The colony is outside our territory. We have no obligation to defend it. The matter is closed. Dae-Jin couldn't believe what he was hearing. They're just going to let those people die? Tae-Wan's voice came over the communicator. He was still on the Crimson Talon. The council voted. There's no strategic value in defending Haven's Rest. No honor in protecting a colony that doesn't belong to them. There are Veltharians living there, Dae-Jin shouted. They chose to live outside the Empire. The council considers them exiles. I'm sorry, Dae-Jin. This is how it is. Rodriguez looked at her crew. Get me everything we know about the Kreth attack. Numbers, ship types, everything. The news got worse the more they learned. The Kreth had come with 3 massive bioships. The colony's defenses were already failing. They had maybe 12 hours before the entire planet was consumed. We have to do something, Dae-Jin said. Like what? Kim asked. We're one exploration ship. The Kreth would tear us apart. So we just leave them to die? Rodriguez stood up. No, we don't. Prepare a shuttle. Load it with whatever weapons and medical supplies we can spare. We'll evacuate as many people as we can. Captain, that's suicide, Kim protested. Maybe. But it's the right thing to do. Rodriguez looked at Dae-Jin. I need a volunteer to pilot the shuttle. I'll do it, Dae-Jin said immediately. I thought you would. Take Kim and Park with you. 3 people won't make a difference to the Kreth, but it might make a difference to the colonists. 2 hours later, Dae-Jin was in a shuttle heading toward Haven's Rest. Lieutenant Kim was checking weapons. Dr. Park was organizing medical supplies. All 3 of them knew this was probably a one-way trip. We should have asked for more volunteers, Kim said quietly. Captain needs everyone else to keep the ship running in case we actually manage to evacuate people, Dae-Jin replied. As they approached the planet, they could see the Kreth bioships. They looked like massive insects made of black metal and organic material. Smaller ships swarmed around them like angry wasps. Those are fighter-class devourers, Kim said, her voice tight. They're fast and deadly. If they spot us, they won't. We're too small. They're focused on the colony. Dae-Jin hoped he was right. They managed to land on the outskirts of the main colony settlement. The scene was chaos. Buildings were on fire. People were running in every direction. In the distance, they could see Kreth ground forces advancing. They looked like enormous beetles, tearing through everything in their path. A Veltharian warrior ran up to their shuttle. She was injured, bleeding from a wound in her shoulder. Who are you? Human Rescue Team, Dae-Jin said. We're here to evacuate who we can. The warrior stared at him in disbelief. Humans? You came here to help? Yeah. Where do you need us? She pointed toward a large building. Evacuation center, but the Kreth are almost there. We can't hold them much longer. Then let's move fast. What's your name? G1. Okay, G1, lead the way. They ran through the burning streets. Dae-jin had never been in combat before. Every instinct screamed at him to run the other way, but he kept moving. The evacuation center was packed with people. Humans, Veltharians, and aliens Dae-jin didn't recognize. All terrified. A Veltharian male was organizing them. Another shuttle? He asked when he saw them. Just one. We can take maybe 30 people, Dae-jin said. We have 300 here. Then we'll make multiple trips. You don't have time. The Kreth will be here in minutes. Dae-jin looked at Kim and Park. Get as many children and injured as possible into the shuttle. Go back to the horizon's edge and return. What about you? Kim asked. I'll stay here. Help with the defense. You're not trained for combat. Neither are half these people. We'll figure it out. Before Kim could argue, the building shook. Explosions outside. The Kreth were here. Ji-won grabbed Dae-jin's arm. If you're staying, take this. She handed him a plasma rifle. Point and shoot. Try not to hit allies. The next hour was a nightmare. The Kreth kept coming. Wave after wave. Dae-jin fired the rifle until his hands hurt. He saw people die. He almost died himself when a Kreth soldier got past the defense line. Ji-won saved him, putting herself between him and the creature. Why did you do that? He gasped after she'd killed it. You came here to save us. Least I can do is keep you alive. The shuttle returned. They loaded more people. It left again. Another wave of Kreth. More fighting. More dying. Then something unexpected happened. A Veltharian dropship landed near the evacuation center. Armed warriors poured out. Leading them was Nara. She saw Dae-jin covered in dirt and blood, holding a rifle like he barely knew how to use it, and something crossed her face. Anger, maybe, or fear. What are you doing here? She demanded. Saving people. What are you doing here? The same, apparently. She turned to her warriors. Secure a perimeter. Get these people to the ships. Another warrior stepped off the dropship. It was Tae-won. He looked at Dae-jin and shook his head. You're either very brave or very stupid. Probably both, Dae-jin admitted. A third warrior joined them. She was young, maybe just 20 by human standards. Commander, the council will be furious when they hear about this. Let them be furious, Hana, Nara said. Sometimes doing what's right matters more than following orders. She'd defied the council, come here against direct orders. For what? To save strangers? Or because Dae-jin was here? You're going to be in trouble, he said to her. I'm already in trouble. Might as well make it worth it. She looked at the evacuation center. How many people are left? 200, maybe. But the Kreth are coming in force now. I don't think we can hold them long enough to evacuate everyone. Nara's jaw tightened. Then we'll have to make time. She issued orders. Her warriors took defensive positions. More shuttles arrived. These ones piloted by other Veltharian warriors who had apparently joined Nara's mutiny against the council. For 3 hours, they held the line. The fighting was brutal. They lost people. Both human and Veltharian warriors fell defending strangers. At one point, Dae-jin found himself fighting back-to-back with Nara. She moved like water, her blade cutting through Kreth soldiers with practiced ease. He moved like someone who'd learned to shoot a few hours ago, barely staying alive. You really weren't trained for combat, she shouted over the noise. Communications officer, remember? Why did you come here then? Because no one else would. She laughed. Actually laughed in the middle of battle. You're insane. You're one to talk. You defied your entire council. I learned from the best. She cut down another Kreth. From a human who speaks his mind even when he shouldn't. They managed to evacuate most of the colonists. But the Kreth kept coming. It became clear they weren't going to be able to save everyone and escape themselves. Taiwan gathered the remaining fighters, about 40 of them, human and Veltharian together. We need to fall back now, or we'll all die here. What about the people still in the northern sector? Ji-Wan asked. They're cut off. We can't reach them. Dae-Jin looked at the map display. The northern sector had about 50 people trapped. They'd be consumed by the Kreth within the hour. An idea formed in his mind. It was crazy. It would probably kill him, but it might work. I have a plan, he said. Dae-Jin pointed at the colony's main reactor on the map display. This is a mining colony, right? That reactor powers the entire operation. It's nuclear-based, designed for heavy industrial work. Tae-Wan followed his thinking immediately. You want to overload it? Yes. Create a massive explosion. Take out the Kreth landing ships. That's suicide, Ji-Wan said. You'd have to stay behind to trigger it manually. The remote systems are destroyed. I know. Nara grabbed his arm. No. We'll find another way. There is no other way. You know it. I know it. If we don't stop those landing ships, the Kreth will just keep sending more soldiers. Everyone dies, including the people in the northern sector. Then I'll do it, Nara said. I'm trained for sacrifice missions. You're also the only one who can command the evacuation properly. These warriors listen to you, and someone needs to make sure those people in the northern sector get out. Dae-Jin looked at her steadily. It has to be me. Hana spoke up. I'll go with you. You'll need someone who knows Veltharian reactor systems. No, Nara said. That's an order. With respect, Commander, you're already defying orders. So am I. Hana smiled grimly. Besides, the human is right. This is the only way. Nara looked between them, her golden eyes burning with emotion she was clearly fighting to control. I should never have brought you here. You didn't bring me, Dae-Jin said. I came on my own, remember? You just joined the party. Tae-Wan stepped forward. If we're doing this, we need to move now. I'll lead the northern sector rescue. Ji-Wan, coordinate with Commander Nara on the evacuation. Everyone else prepare to fall back to the ships. The next 20 minutes were a blur. Dae-Jin and Hana fought their way to the reactor facility while the others drew the Kreth forces away. The building was damaged but intact. Inside, the reactor hummed with barely contained energy. Okay, Hana said, pulling up controls. I can override the safety systems, but it'll take about 15 minutes to reach critical mass. After that, we'll have maybe 2 minutes to get clear. Can we get clear in 2 minutes? No. The Kreth have the area surrounded. We'd never make it to a ship. Dae-Jin felt strangely calm. He'd known this was one way when he suggested it. Then we'd better make sure everyone else gets out. They worked in silence for a while. Hana's hands flew over the controls, making adjustments. Dae-Jin monitored the Kreth movements on a damaged security system. Can I ask you something? Hana said suddenly. Sure. Why did you come here? You're not military. You had no obligation to these people. Dae-Jin thought about it. Because it was right. Because someone had to. Because I couldn't live with myself if I didn't try. That's very human, Hana said. But she said it like a compliment. Veltharians would call it foolish. But I think it's brave. What about you? Why did you come? Because Commander Nara came. And because she was right to come. Hana looked at him. She cares about you, you know, more than she should for someone she just met. I care about her too. Then I'm sorry this is how it ends. The reactor was almost ready. Dae-Jin's communicator buzzed. It was Nara. Northern sector is evacuated. All ships are loaded. We're ready to leave. What's your status? Dae-Jin glanced at Hana. She held up 5 fingers. 5 more minutes. We need 5 more minutes to reach critical mass, he said. Then we'll wait. No, you'll leave now. That's not a request, Commander. Get those people to safety. There was a long pause. Dae-jin? Go, please. Make this mean something. Another pause. Then, so quietly he almost didn't hear it. I won't forget you. Good. Because I'm going to haunt you if you do. He heard her laugh, just a little. Then the line went dead. Hana finished her work. Reactor is set. Critical mass in 3 minutes. After that, 2 minutes until detonation. Time to go. They ran for the exit, but the moment they stepped outside, they saw the problem. The Kreth had figured out what they were doing. A massive force was converging on the reactor building, hundreds of them. Well, Hana said, raising her weapon, I guess we hold here. They fought. Dae-jin had never been so tired in his life. His arms ached, his lungs burned, but he kept firing, kept moving. Beside him, Hana fought with the skill of a trained warrior, but even she was slowing down. A Kreth soldier got past their defense. It lunged at Dae-jin. He tried to dodge, but was too slow. The creature's blade came down. Hana threw herself in the way. The blade caught her across the chest. She went down hard. No! Dae-jin killed the Kreth and dropped to her side. Hana, stay with me, she coughed, blood on her lips. I'm okay, just wounded. But he could see it was bad. I need to get you out of here. No time. Reactor is critical now. Maybe 90 seconds until it blows. Then I'm carrying you. You can't fight and carry me. Watch me. He hauled her up, supporting her weight. They moved toward the perimeter, him firing one-handed while supporting her with the other. It was impossible. They were surrounded. But he kept moving because stopping meant dying. Then, like an answer to a prayer he hadn't said, a dropship screamed overhead. It landed right in front of them, ramp already down. Tae-wan was at the controls. Get in, he shouted. Dae-jin practically threw Hana into the ship and jumped in after her. The ramp closed. They lifted off. What are you doing here? Dae-jin gasped. You were supposed to evacuate. I did. Then I came back. Call it a human habit I picked up. Tae-wan pushed the ship to maximum speed. 60 seconds to detonation. We need to get clear of the blast radius. They weren't going to make it. The ship was fast, but not fast enough. There, Hana pointed with a shaking hand. The Crimson Talon, Nara's flagship, was dropping into low orbit. Its shields were already extended. Tae-wan aimed for it. Come on, come on! They reached the shield bubble with 10 seconds to spare. Then the reactor exploded. The blast was enormous. It lit up the planet's surface like a second sun. The shockwave rocked the Crimson Talon even through its shields. When it cleared, all 3 Kreth landing ships were gone. Just debris falling from the sky. Dae-jin collapsed against the wall of the dropship, shaking with adrenaline and relief. We made it! Barely, Tae-wan said. That was the stupidest, bravest thing I've ever seen. And I've seen a lot. They landed in the Crimson Talon's bay. Medical teams rushed in to get Hana. Nara was there too. When she saw Dae-jin, alive and covered in blood and dirt, she grabbed him and pulled him into a tight embrace. You're alive, she said into his shoulder. Yeah, surprised me too. She pulled back, and he saw tears in her golden eyes. Don't ever do that again. Do what? Save people? Make me think I lost you. She seemed to realize she was being too emotional in front of her crew. She stepped back, composing herself. Good work, communications officer. You too, Commander. They stayed in orbit for another day, making sure the Kreth were really gone. The colony was damaged, but saved. 300 people owed their lives to a ragtag group of humans and Veltharians who decided orders didn't matter as much as doing the right thing. In the medical bay, Dae-jin visited Hana. She was going to survive, the doctors said. The wound looked worse than it was. You saved my life out there, he said. You came back for me. We're even. She smiled weakly. The commander was very worried about you. I've never seen her like that. She has a reputation to maintain. Not anymore. She defied the council for this. Her career is probably over. Dae-jin felt guilt twist in his stomach. Because of me? No, because of her. She made her choice. Hana closed her eyes. But I think it was the right one. For the first time in her life, she did something because it mattered, not because she was ordered to. That night, Dae-jin found Nara in the observation deck again. Seemed to be their place now. The council has sent official notice, she said without turning around. I'm to return for disciplinary hearings. So are all the warriors who came with me. I'm sorry. Don't be. I'm not. She finally looked at him. What you did today, at the reactor, that wasn't trained soldier behavior. Is that a compliment? It's an observation. You humans, you fight like you have nothing to lose. Hana said something like that. I told her we fight like we have everything to lose. There's a difference. Nara considered this. Yes, there is. She moved closer. You terrify me, Dae-jin. Not because you're dangerous, because you make me question everything I thought I knew. Is that bad? I don't know yet. She looked back at the stars. But I think I want to find out. The evacuation of Haven's Rest took 3 more days. Search teams combed through the ruins, looking for survivors. They found a few, not many, but each life saved felt like a victory. Dae-jin worked alongside Veltharian warriors and human crew members. The division between species seemed to matter less now. They'd all fought together, bled together. That created bonds that politics couldn't break. On the 3rd day, while organizing supply drops, Dae-jin noticed something on the long-range sensors. Ships approaching, a lot of them. Captain Rodriguez, he called over the communicator. We have incoming vessels. I count 12, maybe more. Identify them. He checked the signatures. His stomach dropped. They're Kreth. A second wave. The evacuation site erupted into controlled chaos. Warriors ran to defensive positions. Civilians were herded toward the remaining ships. But everyone knew the truth. They didn't have enough firepower to fight off 12 Kreth vessels. Nara appeared beside Dae-jin, studying the display. They're not attacking yet. They're positioning. They want to make sure none of us escape this time. How long until they're in range? 20 minutes, maybe less. Can we evacuate everyone in 20 minutes? No. Half the civilians are still scattered across the colony ruins. We'd need at least an hour. Tae-wan joined them. The Horizon's Edge is sending a message. Captain Rodriguez wants all human personnel to fall back to the ship immediately. What about the Veltharians? Dae-jin asked. She can't order them. They're not under her command. Nara looked at her warriors. They were exhausted. 3 days of non-stop work. They'd followed her here against orders. Now they might die here. Tell your warriors to fall back to the ships, Tae-wan said to her. There's no shame in strategic retreat. And leave the civilians? We can't save them all, Nara. You know that. She did know that. Dae-jin could see it in her face. But she also knew she wouldn't leave, couldn't leave, not now. I'm staying, she said. Anyone who wants to leave can. But I'm staying until every civilian is on a ship or I'm dead. Ji-won stepped forward immediately. I'm staying too. Hana, still recovering from her wound, limped over. And me. One by one, the other Veltharian warriors declared they'd stay. Even Tae-wan, who'd argued for retreat, nodded. Guess I'm staying too. Someone needs to keep you all from doing something even more stupid. Dae-jin looked at them all. These warriors who'd already lost everything by defying their council. Now they were going to die for strangers. There has to be another way, he said. There isn't, Nara replied. Sometimes the only choice is how you face the end. But Dae-jin's mind was racing. He thought about the reactor, about how they'd used the colony's own infrastructure against the Kreth. What else could they use? He pulled up a geological survey of the planet. Haven's Rest was a mining colony. That meant mines, deep ones. And where there were mines, there were explosives. What if we don't fight them head-on? He said. What if we collapse the mines? Everyone looked at him. The main Kreth force is landing near the central colony. That's where we are. But there's a network of mines running under this entire area. If we collapse them, we could take out their landing zone, maybe buy enough time to evacuate everyone. The mines are too deep, Taewon said. You'd need to set charges at multiple points. That requires people going down there. Then that's what we do. Nara grabbed his arm. Those mines are unstable already from the earlier attack. Anyone going down there might not make it out before the collapse. Better than definitely not making it out from a Kreth attack. She stared at him. You're volunteering, again. Someone has to. Then I'm coming with you. No. You need to coordinate the evacuation. That's not my strength. It's yours. Dae-jin. Please, let me do this. It's what I'm good at. Improvising, taking risks, being stupid. He smiled at her. Very human things. She looked like she wanted to argue. Instead, she pulled him close and kissed him. Hard, like it might be the last time. When she pulled back, her eyes were fierce. Come back alive. That's an order. I'll do my best, Commander. Ji-won and 2 other Veltharian warriors volunteered to go with him. Taewon gave them a quick briefing on where to place the charges. Hana, despite her injuries, insisted on helping coordinate from the surface. They descended into the mines. The tunnels were dark and unstable. Support beams creaked ominously. Water dripped from cracks in the ceiling. It felt like the whole place could come down at any moment. This is insane, one of the warriors muttered. Yeah, Dae-jin agreed. But it might work. They placed charges at 3 key structural points. The work was slow, careful. One wrong move and they'd trigger a collapse before they were ready. Above ground, the Kreth ships entered orbit. They began deploying landing craft. Time was running out. Last charge is set, Ji-won reported. We need to get out now. They ran back toward the main shaft. Behind them, they could hear the groaning of stressed metal and stone. The whole structure was on the edge of collapse. They reached the elevator. It was old, designed for mining equipment. All 4 of them crowded in. Ji-won hit the emergency ascent button. Nothing happened. It's not working, she said, hitting it again. Dae-jin checked the power system. The earlier attacks damaged the main power line. We're on backup, but it's not enough for 4 people. The Veltharian warriors looked at each other, then at Dae-jin. No, he said. Don't even think about it. Ji-won grabbed him by the shoulders. You're the lightest, and you're the one who figured this out. You need to survive to see it through. I'm not leaving you here. You don't have a choice, she smiled. Besides, we're warriors. This is what we do. The other 2 warriors nodded. They physically lifted Dae-jin into the elevator. He tried to fight them off, but they were far stronger. Tell Commander Nara we died well, Ji-won said. She pressed the button. The elevator started to rise. Dae-jin watched helplessly as the 3 warriors got smaller below him. They stood at attention, ready to face their end with dignity. No, he whispered. Then louder, no. He tried to stop the elevator, but the controls didn't respond. He was being pulled to the surface while 3 people died below because of his plan. When he reached the top, hands pulled him out. Hana was there. Where are the others? Still down there? The elevator couldn't carry all of us? His voice broke. They stayed behind. Nara appeared. Did you set all the charges? Yes, but... Then trigger them, now. Nara, 3 of your warriors are still down there. I know. And they made their choice. Honor it by making their sacrifice mean something. Trigger the charges. Dae-jin wanted to refuse, wanted to find another way. but there wasn't time. The Kreth landing craft were almost down. With shaking hands, he pressed the detonator. The ground shook. Then it shook harder. The mine entrances collapsed in massive plumes of dust. The shaking spread, a chain reaction through the underground network. The entire central colony area began to sink as the mines beneath it gave way. The Kreth landing craft, already committed to their approach, couldn't pull up in time. They crashed into the collapsing ground. Explosions bloomed across the landing zone. "It worked," Hana said quietly. "You stopped them." But Dae-jin felt no triumph, only grief for 3 warriors he barely knew who died because of his plan. "The rest of the Kreth fleet is retreating," someone called out. "They're leaving orbit." "Get everyone to the ships," Nara ordered. "Now, before they change their minds." The evacuation proceeded quickly after that. Within 30 minutes, every civilian was loaded. The Horizon's Edge and the Crimson Talon prepared to depart. Dae-jin stood in the cargo bay, watching the planet grow smaller through the open bay doors. Nara found him there. "You saved everyone," she said. 3 warriors died." "Yes, they did, and they chose to." She stood beside him. "In Veltharian culture, to die in defense of others is the highest honor. Ji-won and the others achieved something greater than any battle victory. Does that make it hurt less? No, it doesn't." They stood in silence. Finally, Nara spoke again. "The Council has issued new orders. I'm to report immediately for court-martial. My warriors, too, will likely be stripped of rank and exiled. I'm sorry. I'm not. What we did here mattered more than rank." She looked at him. "What will you do now?" "Go back to exploration, I guess. That's what we came out here for." "And us? What are we?" Dae-jin turned to face her. "I don't know. We're from different worlds, different cultures. You're about to be court-martialed because of me. But I know I don't want this to be the last time I see you." "Neither do I." She reached out and took his hand. "So we'll figure something out. Humans are good at that, right? Improvising? And Veltharians are good at being stubborn. Then between the 2 of us, we should manage." The bay doors closed. The planet disappeared from view. But Dae-jin didn't feel like something was ending. It felt like something was beginning, even if he had no idea what that something was. 3 weeks had passed since Haven's rest. 3 weeks that felt like 3 years. Dae-jin sat in a medical bay on a human space station called Sanctuary. It was a neutral meeting point between human and allied alien territories. He'd been coming here every day for 3 weeks, sitting beside a bed where Nara lay recovering. The court-martial had been swift and brutal. Nara had been stripped of her rank, exiled from Veltharian space. Her warriors faced similar punishment. But the strange thing was how many other Veltharians had followed her example afterward. When word spread about what happened at Haven's Rest, something shifted in Veltharian culture. Young warriors began questioning orders, requesting transfers to joint operations with other species. The Council tried to suppress it, but the change had already begun. Nara's injuries weren't from the battle. They were from the journey to the station. When she'd been officially exiled, she'd chosen to leave on her own ship rather than be escorted. The Kreth, wanting revenge, had attacked her small vessel. She'd barely made it to Sanctuary alive. "You know," came a weak voice from the bed, "it's creepy how much you stare at me while I'm sleeping." Dae-jin's head jerked up. Nara's golden eyes were open, looking at him with familiar amusement. "You're awake," he breathed. "Seems like it." She tried to sit up and winced. "How long was I out?" 2 weeks. The doctors kept you in a medical coma to help with healing." 2 weeks. She looked around the room. "Where are we?" "Sanctuary Station. You're safe. The Kreth can't reach you here." "My warriors?" "All safe. Hana's been by every day to check on you. Taewan is coordinating with human and Veltharian forces on some new initiative. They wouldn't tell me details. Nara relaxed slightly. Good. That's good. She looked at him more carefully. You look terrible. When did you last sleep? I sleep. Sometimes. Liar. But she said it fondly. Don't be a coward, Dae-jin. Tell me your thoughts, human. He smiled at her words. The same words she'd said to him weeks ago that had started everything. I thought I'd lost you. When your ship arrived damaged, when they brought you out barely breathing, I thought you were going to die. I'm harder to kill than that. I know. But for a while I didn't know. He took her hand carefully. And it terrified me more than anything I faced at Haven's Rest. What are you saying? I'm saying I care about you. A lot. More than makes sense for someone I've only known a few weeks. More than is probably smart considering you're an exiled warrior and I'm a communications officer with no combat skills. She squeezed his hand. You have plenty of skills. They're just different from mine. Yeah, like getting you into trouble. You didn't get me into anything. I made my choices. She managed to sit up more, though she was clearly in pain. And I'd make them again. Even knowing what it would cost. Especially knowing what it would cost. For the first time in my life, I did something because it mattered, not because I was ordered to. That's worth more than rank or status or approval from the council. The door opened. Captain Rodriguez walked in, followed by Taiwan and Hana. She's awake, Rodriguez said with relief. About time. You had us worried. I'm fine, Nara said, though she clearly wasn't. You will be, Taiwan corrected. The doctors say another week of recovery, maybe 2. I don't have 2 weeks. I need to... You need to rest, Hana interrupted. That's an order. Oh, wait, I forgot. Neither of us has rank anymore. Despite everything, Nara smiled. True. I suppose I can't order you around anymore. Good, because I'm ordering you to rest. Rodriguez cleared her throat. When you're feeling better, Commander, sorry, Nara, we need to talk about the future. What future? I'm exiled. My warriors are exiled. We have no home. That's not entirely true, Rodriguez said. She pulled up a holographic display. Over the past 3 weeks, something interesting has happened. 73 Veltharian warriors have requested asylum in human space. They're calling themselves the Free Warriors. They want to continue what you started. What I started was a disaster. No, Taiwan said firmly. What you started was a revolution. A quiet one, but still a revolution. You proved that Veltharians don't have to follow the old ways, that there's honor in choosing your own path. The Council will see them as traitors. The Council already does. But the Council doesn't speak for all Veltharians. He manipulated the display. Look at this. Requests for joint operations between humans and Veltharians have increased by 300%. Young warriors are questioning orders, asking why we can't work with other species as equals. Nara stared at the data. All because of Haven's Rest? All because you showed them a different way, Rodriguez said. And humanity wants to formalize that. We're proposing a joint task force, human and Veltharian cooperation, protecting frontier colonies, responding to threats like the Kreth. We want you to lead it. Me? I have no rank, no authority. You have something better. Respect. The warriors who followed you to Haven's Rest would follow you anywhere, and honestly, after watching humans and Veltharians work together, I think this is the future. Species cooperating instead of competing. Nara looked at Dae-jin. What do you think? I think it sounds dangerous and difficult and probably impossible, he said. So basically perfect for you. She laughed, then winced because it hurt. And what will you do? Go back to exploration? Actually, Rodriguez said, we're requesting that Dae-jin be assigned as the human liaison to this new task force. He seems to be the only person who can talk sense into Veltharian warriors. I don't talk sense into anyone, Dae-jin protested. "I just say what I'm thinking." "Exactly," Nara said, which is apparently what everyone needed to hear. Over the next few days, more details emerged. The Joint Task Force was being officially created. It would operate on the frontier, in neutral space, responding to threats and protecting colonies regardless of species. It was unprecedented. Humans and Veltharians had never cooperated on this level before. Hana was put in charge of recruitment. Tae-wan handled tactics and strategy, and Nara, despite her initial protests, accepted the role of commander. Not because she wanted power, but because her warriors needed someone to follow. A week after waking up, Nara was finally allowed to leave the medical bay. Dae-jin walked with her to the station's observation deck. Their place, it seemed, no matter what station or ship they were on. "Nervous about the new assignment?" he asked. "Terrified," she admitted, "leading a task force of mixed species with no clear authority or structure. What could go wrong?" "Everything. But that's never stopped you before." She looked at him. "Will you really stay? You could go back to exploration. That's what you trained for." "I trained to communicate with aliens. Seems like I'll be doing a lot of that." He moved closer to her. "Besides, someone needs to keep you from doing something even more dangerous." "I thought you were the one who did dangerous things." "We take turns," she laughed. Then her expression grew serious. "You know this won't be easy, us, a human and a Veltharian. My people will disapprove. Yours might too." "Let them. I'm getting used to doing things people disapprove of." "When did you become so brave?" "When I met someone who made me want to be." Nara pulled him close and kissed him. Not the desperate kiss from before the mines. This one was slower, more certain, like a promise of things to come. When they separated, she said, "You never did tell me. That first night, when you said I was the hottest alien woman you'd ever seen. Did you mean it?" "Every word. Still do." "Good, because you're not bad yourself." "For a human." "High praise from a Veltharian warrior." "Former warrior. Now I'm just a troublemaker with a ship and too many followers." "Perfect. I'm a communications officer who can't stop getting into fights. We're quite a pair." A message came through on Dae-jin's communicator. It was from Rodriguez. The first mission briefing was in an hour. A colony on the edge of Veltharian space was reporting strange signals. Possibly Kreth. Possibly something else. "Already?" Nara sighed. "We haven't even finished organizing. We'll figure it out as we go. That's what humans do best, right? And what Veltharians are learning to do." She straightened up, and he saw the commander returning. The woman who'd defied a council, who'd fought a hopeless battle, who'd changed the course of her entire culture. But when she looked at him, her eyes were soft. "Stay close to me on this mission?" "Always." They walked to the briefing together. Behind them, through the observation window, 2 ships hung in space. The human vessel Horizon's Edge and a new ship, painted with both human and Veltharian colors. It didn't have a name yet. In the briefing room, 20 warriors waited, human and Veltharian, sitting together, planning together. A month ago, this would have been impossible. Now it was just the beginning. Rodriguez pulled up the mission details. A small colony, a mysterious signal, probably dangerous, definitely complicated. "This is going to be interesting," Tae-wan muttered. Dae-jin looked at Nara. She was focused on the briefing, but her hand found his under the table. He squeezed it gently. "Yeah," he agreed quietly. "It is." Later that night, after the briefing, after the planning, after everyone else had left, Dae-jin found himself back in the observation deck. He wasn't surprised when Nara joined him. "Can't sleep?" she asked. "Too much to think about." "Tell me." "I'm thinking about how strange life is. A month ago, I was just a communications officer on an exploration mission. Now I'm part of a revolutionary joint task force, dating an exiled alien warrior and apparently heading into danger on a regular basis. Having second thoughts? Not even one. He looked at her. You? None. Though I am wondering what my younger self would think if she could see me now. What would she think? Probably that I'd lost my mind, defying the council, choosing exile. Falling for a human who has no combat skills and far too much courage for his own good. Falling for? Daejin raised an eyebrow. Nara's face showed the closest thing to embarrassment he'd ever seen on her. Did I say that? You definitely said that. Well, I suppose I did. She met his eyes directly. Is that a problem? Only if you expect me not to say it back. And would you? I'm falling for you too. Kind of already have fallen, actually. Pretty much hit the ground running. She laughed. That genuine laugh he'd first heard when he called her hot. You have such a strange way with words. It's called honesty. You taught me that being honest was more important than being diplomatic. I'm regretting that now. No, you're not. No, I'm not. She pulled him close. What do you think happens next? With us? With the task force? With everything? I have no idea. But I'm excited to find out. Even if it's dangerous? Especially if it's dangerous. Danger makes life interesting. You really are insane. So are you. That's why we work. They stood together, watching the stars. Somewhere out there, the galaxy was changing. Old alliances shifting. New ones forming. Species learning to work together instead of apart. And at the center of it all, a human who spoke his mind and a Veltharian who'd learned to listen. It wasn't the ending either of them had expected, but it was the beginning they both needed.